Hello everyone, and good evening. Hope you're ready for some more reading. I've got my book. No therapy friends tonight because I've given them the night off. I figured they could do with a rest, so tonight it's just you and me. Now, if you remember, we were about to start reading about the adult. So, shall we? Excuse me. At about 10 months of age, a remarkable thing begins to happen to the child. Until that time, his life is consisted mainly of helpless or unthinking responses to the demands and stimulations by those around him. He has had a parent and a child. What he has not had is the ability either to choose his responses or to manipulate his surroundings. He has had no self-direction, no ability to move out to meet life. He has simply taken what has come his way. At 10 months, however, he begins to experience the power of locomotion. He can manipulate objects and begin to move out, freeing himself from the prison of immobility. It is true that earlier, as at 8 months, the infant may frequently cry and need help in getting out of some awkward positions, but he is unable to get out of it by himself. At 10 months, he concentrates on inspection and exploitation of toys. According to the studies conducted by Gazelle and Ilg, the 10-month-old child enjoys playing with a cup and pretends to drink. He brings objects to his mouth and chews them. He enjoys gross motor activity, sitting and playing after he has been set up, leaning far forward and re-erecting himself. He secures a toy, kicks, goes from sitting to creeping, pulls himself up and may lower himself. He is beginning to cruise. Social activities which he enjoys are peekaboo and lip play. Walking with both hands held, being put prone on the floor, or being placed in a rocking toy. Girls show their first signs of coyness by putting their heads to one side as they smile. The 10-month-old has found he is able to do something which grows from his own awareness and original thought. This self-actualization is the beginning of adult data accumulates. Let's read that. I misread. I skipped a bit. The 10-month-old has found he is able to do something which grows from his own awareness and original thought. The self-actualization is the beginning of the adult. And it points us to a figure 4. So I'm going to quickly show that to the screen. So I'm going to leave that for about 5 seconds, starting now. So you have plenty of time to pause and look at it. And we're back to the book. Adult data accumulates as a result of the child's ability to find out for himself what is different about life from the taught concept of life in his parent and the felt concept of life in his child. The adult develops a thought concept of life based on data gathering and data processing. The motility which gives birth to the adult becomes reassuring in later life when a person is in distress. He goes for a walk to clear his mind. Pacing is seen similarly as relief from anxiety. There is a recording that movement is good, that has a separating quality, that it helps see him more clearly what his problem is. Now, funny enough, I found that with my anxiety, sometimes moving about does actually make things better. I suppose in a way it's just another form of exercise, because I've read a few places that exercise is good for anxiety because it just gets the blood pumping and makes you feel better about yourself. It's probably the same thing here. That's it. We're going back to the book now. The adult during these early years is fragile and tentative. It is easily knocked out by commands from the parents and fear in the child. Mother says about the crystal goblet, no, don't touch that. The child may pull back and cry, but at the first opportunity he will touch it anyway to see what it is all about. In most persons, the adult, despite all the obstacles thrown in its way, survives and continues to function more and more effectively as the maturation process goes on. The process of becoming more mature, essentially. Just in case you weren't clear what was going on there. The adult is principally concerned with transforming stimuli into pieces of information and processing and following the information on the basis of previous experience. This way, got an itch. That's better. It is different from the parent, which is judgmental in an imitative way and seeks to enforce sets of borrowed standards, and from the child, which tends to react more abruptly on the basis of pre-logical thinking of poorly differentiated or distorted perceptions. Through the adult, little person can begin to tell the difference between life as it was taught and demonstrated to him, life as he felt it or wished or fantasized it, and life as he figures it out by himself. The adult is a data processing computer, which grinds out decisions after computing the information from three sources: the parent, the child, and the data which the adult has gathered and is still gathering. One of the important functions of the adult is to examine the data in the parent, see whether or not it is true and still applicable today, and then to accept it or reject it, and to examine the child to see whether or not the feelings there are appropriate to the present or are archaic and in response to archaic parent data. The goal is not to do away with the parent and child, but to be free to examine these bodies of data. The adult, in the words of Emerson, must not be hindered by the name of goodness, but must examine it if it be goodness or badness for that matter, as in the early decision, I'm not okay. Are you with me so far, people? Good. Shall we? The adult teasing of parent data may begin at an early age. A secure youngster is one who finds that most parent data is reliable. They told me the truth. It really is true that cars in the street are dangerous, concludes the little boy who has seen his pet dog hurt by a car in the street. Ah, poor child. It's a lesson learned, but at the same time, that child is probably traumatized now. I lost a pet to a car accident, and I'll be honest with you, it still traumatizes me now. I won't go into details, but occasionally I'll think about it and I miss him so damn much. Back to the book. It really is true that things go better when I share my toys with Bobby, thinks the little boy who has been given a prized possession by Bobby. It really does feel better when my pants aren't wet, concludes the little girl who has learned to go to the bathroom by herself. If parental directives are grounded in reality, the child, through his own adult, will come to realise integrity or sense of wholeness. What he tests holds up under testing. Data which he collects in his experimentation and examination begins to constitute some constants that he can trust. His findings are supported by what he was taught in the first place. It is important to emphasise that the verification of parent data does not erase the not okay recordings in the child, which were produced by the early imposition of this data. Mother believes that the only way to keep 3-year-old Johnny out of the street is to spank him. He does not understand the danger. His response is fear, anger, and frustration, with no appreciation of the fact that his mother loves him and is protecting his life. This is very true. I spoke about this in the previous video, but as with children, you should really give them an explanation as to why they can't do certain things. You can't just control them with fear, because they remember that. There's a good chance they will remember that in adulthood as well. Sure, later in life they'll understand why they can't go out into the street, but if you just spank your child and say they can't go outside otherwise they get a spanking, then the child's not going to learn anything. All he's going to learn is fear. Fear is good, but it needs to be mixed with reason. You know? I think I'm making sense. I'm in my head. You'll probably think I'm talking absolute rubbish now, but in my own head I make sense. Now, before we carry on, I'm going to show you another figure. See? I'm going to leave that on for the next 10 seconds. So you can read it, alright? And we're done. Let's get back to it. The fear, anger and frustration are recorded. These feelings are not erased by the later understanding that she was right to do what she did, but the understanding of how the original situation of childhood produced so many not okay recordings of this type can free us of their continual replay in the present. We cannot erase the recording, but we can choose to turn it off. In the same way that the adult updates parent data to determine what is valid and what is not, it updates child data to determine which feelings may be expressed safely. In our society, it is considered appropriate for a woman to cry at a wedding, but it is not considered appropriate for that woman to scream at her husband afterwards at the reception. Yet both crying and screams are emotions in the child. The adult keeps emotion expression appropriate. The adult's function in updating the parent and child is diagrammed in figure 6. The adult within the adult in this figure refers to updated reality data. The evidence once told me space travel was the only fantasy, but now I know it is reality. And here is figure 6. 5 more seconds, then it's gone. Okay. Another of the child's functions, of the adult's function is probability estimating. The function is slow in developing in the small child and apparently for most of us has a hard time catching up throughout life. The little person is constantly confronted with unpleasant alternatives. Either you eat your spinach or you go without ice cream, for example, offering little incentive for examining probabilities. Unexamined probabilities can underlie many of our transactional failures, and unexpected danger signals can cause more adult decay or delay than expected ones. There are similarities here to the stock ticket in investment, concerns which may run many hours behind on very active trading days. We sometimes refer to this delay as computer lag, a remedy for which is the old familiar practice of counting to 10. Capacity for probability estimating can be increased by conscious effort. Like a muscle in the body, the adult grows and increases in efficiency through training and use. The adult is alert to the possibility of trouble. Through probability estimating, it can also devise solutions to meet the trouble if and when it comes. Under sufficient stress, however, the adult can be impaired to the point where emotions take over inappropriately. The boundaries between parent, adult, and child are fragile, sometimes indistinct and vulnerable to those incoming signals which tend to recreate situations we experience in the helpless, dependent days of childhood. The adult sometimes is followed by signals of the bad news variety so overwhelming that the adult is reduced to an onlooker in a transaction. An individual in this situation might say, "I knew what I was doing was wrong, but I couldn't help myself." Unrealistic, irrational, non-adult responses are seen in a condition referred to as a traumatic neurosis. The danger or bad news signal hits the parent and the child at the same time it hits the adult. The child responds in the way it originally did with a feeling of not okay. This may produce all kinds of regressive phenomena. The individual may again feel himself to be a tiny, helpless, dependent child. One of the most primitive of these phenomena is thought blocking. One place this can be seen is in psychiatric hospitals that have a locked door policy. When a door is locked on a new patient, his retreat is rapid and pronounced. This is why I am opposed to treating patients in a setting where the emphasis is on parental care. Catering to the helpless child and the individual delays the reconstructive thought process of restoring the adult to the executive function. An ideal hospital would be a comfortable motel with play area for the child surrounding a clinic building devoted to activities designed for achieving autonomy of the adult. Nurses would not wear uniforms or serve as parents to the patients. Instead, nurses in street clothing would apply their skills and train to help each individual learn the identity of his parent, adult, and child. It's a longer one tonight, people. This is why I didn't carry on from the last video. So I wanted to get this bit all done in one. But we're not done yet. In our treatment groups, we use certain colloquial catchphrases such as, "Why don't you stay in your adult?" when a member finds his feelings are taken over. Another of these is, "What was the original transaction?" This is asked as means of turning on the adult to analyse the similarity between the present incoming signal producing the present distress and the original transaction, in which the small child experienced distress. The ongoing work of the adult consists then of checking out old data, validating or invalidating it and refiling it for future use. The business goes on smoothly and there is a relative absence of conflict between what has been taught and what is real. The computer is free for important new business. Creativity. Creativity is born from curiosity in the child as it is the adult. The child provides the want to and the adult provides the how to. The essential requirement for creativity is computer time. The computer's cloud with old business, there is little time for new business. Once checked out, many parent directives become automatic and thus free the computer for activity. I've lost myself now. I went to look at the camera. That's what we're doing. Here we go. Many of our decisions in day-to-day transactions are automatic. For instance, when we see an arrow pointing down a one-way street, we automatically refrain from going the opposite way. We do not involve our computer in lengthy data processing about highway engineering, the traffic death toll, or how signs are painted. Were we to start from scratch in every direction, or operate entirely without the data that was supplied by our parents, the computer would rarely have time for the creative process. Some people contend that the undisciplined child, unhampered by limits, is more creative than the child whose parents set limits. I do not believe this is true. A youngster has more time to be creative, to explore, invent, take part, and put together if he is not wasting time in futile decision making, for which he has inadequate data. The little boy has more time to build a snowman if he is not allowed to engage him over a long hassle about whether or not to wear overshoes. If the child is allowed to be creative by painting the front room walls with shoe polish, he is unprepared for the painful consequences when he does so at the neighbour's house. Painful outcomes do not produce okay feelings. There are other consequences that take time, such as mending in the hospital after a trial and error encounter with a car in the street. There is just so much computer time. Conflict uses a great deal. An extremely time-consuming conflict is produced when parents say An extremely time-consuming conflict is produced when what parents say is true does not seem to be true to the adult. The most creative individual is the one who discovers that a large part of the content of the parent square is reality. He can then file away his validated information in the adult, trust it, forget about it, and gets on with other things, like how to make a kite fly, how to build a sandcastle, or how to do differential calculus. However, many youngsters are preoccupied much of the time with the conflict between parent data and what they see as reality. The most troubling problem is that they do not understand why the parent has such a hold on them. When truth comes to knock at the parent's door, the parent says, "Come, let us reason together." The little child whose father is in jail and whose mother steals to support him may have a loud recording in the parent. Never trust a cop, so he meets a friendly one. His adult computes all the data about this nice guy, how he gets the ball game inside in the sand lot, how he treats the game to popcorn, how he is friendly, and how he speaks in a quiet voice. For this youngster there is conflict. What he sees as reality is different from what he is being taught. The parents tell him one thing and the adult another. During the period of his actual dependency upon his parents for security, however tenuous this security may be, it is likely he will accept the parents' verdict that cops are bad. This is how prejudice is transmitted. For a little child it may be safer to believe a lie than to believe his own eyes and ears. The parent so threatens the child that the adult gives up and stops trying to inquire into areas of conflict. Therefore, cops are bad comes through as truth. This is called contamination of the adult and will be examined in Chapter 6. Now, before we carry on, that's the end of it. That's good. Perfect time. Now, one thing I will say at the end of this, well, obviously not all cops are bad. However, if there is a single mother whose husband is in prison and she has not enough income to look after the child, she probably will steal or do other things which may not be legal. And of course, in such a path, the mother is likely to conclude that a cop getting in the way of her looking after a kid is bad, and thus come to the conclusion that all cops are thus bad. Although I would say to this that obviously not all cops are bad. You're going to have bad and good, but you'd notice it more with cops and other people in legal professions because, there's a lot more room for abuse, sadly. But there was always good and bad in every field. And you can apply this teaching to other things as well, such as racism. Your parents may grow up racist and teach you that all people of a certain race or religion are bad. Obviously, most people will know it's not true. A child will soon learn to question that theory because they come across people of said demographic and, they realise they're right. Nah, so that's all I've got for that. The point is, never judge a book by its cover. Just because you deem all people of one group to be bad doesn't mean they are. And but I will also add, of course, I'm not in any way defending anybody who has any beliefs like that, because if they do, screw them. I mean, if you hate one group of people for no reason, then screw you. I don't want you here, if I'm honest with you. If you're racist or xenophobic or homophobic or anything like that, I really don't want you here. Okay, because this is not what it's about. Unless, of course, you want to get better and be nicer. In which case, you are welcome to stay. But if you have no desire to change the hate that's within your heart, then this isn't going to be this video. This isn't going to be the YouTube channel for you. Really isn't. You'll find I'm a very inclusive person, welcoming to most people. Anyway, with my little rant and political speech over, I want to say that I love each and every single one of you. I think you're all amazing, especially you. Yes, you know you are. You're the most amazing of all. I love you most. You're my favourite. You know who you are. But that's our little secret, right? Anyway, take care of yourselves, people. Until next time, bye.